Thank you so much for your patience. I can't believe the technical difficulty. I got a studio. What did they say? All the gear, no idea, is what they say.
Dude, I'm right there with you. I can definitely relate. The studio, by the way, looks fantastic.
Thank you.
That's some fancy stuff you got going on.
Thank you.
I do want to get your intel and your input on the match that you called and the match that you're going to call, and then just some stuff in general when it comes to, because we had Lucas Panzica on to start the show this morning to get some intel on Nashville and Messi and friends. But you were very, very busy calling the West Coast, the Western Conference wildcard game.
Yeah.
Frankly, I didn't know what to expect in this one. Which version of RSL was going to show up, which version of Portland was going to show up, and you got the Portland version where Mora was on a heater and Justin Glad forgot to mark Kamal Miller at the back post.
Right. Yeah. John, I'm with you. I thought it was going to be the other way around. Pablo Mastroeni's side, they were riding a wave of momentum. That was the message going to players, is house money. We're playing with house money, nothing to lose. Let's go for it. And on the other side, it's funny, two teams in a wild card situation where the messaging was completely different. Phil Neville was talking about this being a failure of a season, the fact that they were, again, playing in the wild card. And you think back to, it was almost the year anniversary of Portland when they got thumped by the Vancouver Whitecaps. And it was worryingly bad last year. And that was starting to trickle in. Is it going to be a repeat? And I couldn't quite believe it, to be honest with you. And I think, credit to Phil Neville, the decisions he made, you live and die by it for a manager. Diego Chara turned back the clock. Felipe Mora, as you mentioned, John, turned back the clock. He made those decisions. He chatted to us in the build-up. He said it's a game for the tried and trusted. Man, did they pull it off. And Chara, 39 years old, turns 40 next year. People starting to ask me, just with my past links with the Timbers, any inside Chara retiring. I said he has said he wants to go till 40, which will be April next year. Okay. I don't see an announcement coming. He's a guy that what he says he means, and he wants to go to. And by that performance, RSL, he can go another year.
I look at someone like that, and when he says, I'm going to do something, I want to play till I'm 45. I want to play till I'm 50. Am I going to sit there and stare at him and sit there and go, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. It's something. Now, you know what, John, as well, he knows he doesn't have the legs as well to go off in transition, and he's got to be a lot more clever. I think it's the most clever we've ever seen Diego Chara. He just kept on parking himself in between the center backs, which the center backs would enjoy, and he just saw everything coming. And then Mora, his two goals were classic Mora. 2021, he scored against RSL, and that was when Mora was, that year he scored in the final MLS Cup final, one of the Timbers' greatest memories of in the history of the club. Mora gave him another night. He was sensational.
So then what does this say about RSL and their season coming into the 8-9 and laying a clunker on the road? How would you grade what they did, even though it ended the way that it did?
I think it's tough, given the fact that, and both teams had a similar storyline, that their front line was taken out, was traded away or moved on from, and then a new front line came in. Timbers had that in a way. Jonathan Rodriguez has been injured, obviously still with the club. Evander, losing him. Felipe Mora wasn't the same player without those two guys. But it's the same with RSL. I think we almost forget that. They had Gomez, they had Julio, they had Chicho Arango, who's at San Jose now. There was a difference in 27 goals, regular season goals, from last year with RSL to this year. Now, they tried to rectify it during the transfer window. Olatunji came in, scored 2 goals in decision day. It's going to take time, though. It's going to take time. It wasn't a quick fix. And Diego Luna, I think he'd be the first to put up his hand and say, the start of the season was much better for him than the end of the season. And they couldn't quite figure out. They tried different position with him. He played on the right side of a number 10. Wasn't quite there. Gonzalez, he's got the talent, but it didn't come out enough. And so the attack is where the problem really laid for RSL. And, ultimately they didn't have enough, whereas the Timbers, they turned it on when they had to.
So then the Timbers now proceed as the 8. They go down to the Murph Dragon to start their best of 3 against San Diego. There was some talk. So I got that from Adrian Garcia Marquez, and it has stuck with me. So they go to San Diego.
Yeah.
And there was a discussion, there was printed word from Tom Bogert about Chucky Lozano and his engine running a little too hot for the liking of everybody there. I mean, you sit there and it's like, well, they actually won without him when he was injured at the beginning of the year. If they're not satisfied with his response inside closed doors, and you sit him or you bring him in and don't give him full minutes, how does San Diego respond? I mean, I'm looking at it like, yeah, they might be okay if it comes to that desperate. But when you look at the 1-8 out west, what are you staring at?
Yeah. I mean, the thing that they have done it with Pellegrino, I'm so impressed with it, with bringing him in from San Jose on loan for next to nothing, and he's gone and he's scored, is it 3 goals in 2 games? Maybe he's on 4, but they've scored 8 goals as a team in the last 2 games without Chucky Lozano. And it's interesting, John, because this isn't the only hiccup that's happened, and we're all wondering, well, we're led to believe it is a heated exchange between player and manager in the locker room. But think of Milan Alosky. Milan Alosky was banging in goals, and then I'd said the messaging to us was that he wanted to go back to Europe. He was back in Europe more or less just to pack his bags and come back to MLS and Philadelphia. And hearing Milan Alosky, something went on there. The fact that, and that's his home, San Diego. The fact that he didn't stay there, I thought could be the fall, could be why San Diego, the most points total for an expansion team coming into MLS. That may be why they don't go and lift the cup this year, because they're missing a 9. Well, now they're missing what do you call it, a number 7, a number 11 on the wing, potentially. But will Pellegrino do enough?
Yeah, you're missing an 18, I guess, in Chucky Lozano with a 7 and an 11. Milan Alosky, to me, that was a head scratcher. They were saying it had to do with money. They couldn't agree on salary figures. He was crushing it at Orange County in USL Championship. I thought it was a great pickup at the time. And then it's like, we're good. And then he comes back, and now he's in Philly. And, guess where Philly is and who's helping that offense. Okay, your matchup that you've got coming up this weekend is yet another one, and it's a chance for FCD. So it's like you're working Vancouver and Dallas, and we've been talking about the game that's happening after you. Now let's talk about your game that's happening now. Vancouver, Dallas, 7:30 Eastern time on Sunday. BC Place, they're opening up the upper tank at BC Place. I'm expecting a hot crowd, a hot environment, and the 7 seed Dallas. I think it might be a long day for them going up here in game number 1 of this series.
Yeah, interesting. They just took down Vancouver up at BC Place, but you have to remember, for those who didn't read the match report or they only saw the score, FC Dallas played a man up for the majority of the match, with Laborda, the center back for Vancouver, being sent off pretty early on. And so, they did well to get the results still, because Vancouver went at them without a striker, without a number 9. Thomas Muller moved into that position. But, and as Muller does, he's still affecting the game all over. But you miss that extra player up front. Now they're going to have to contend with it. The big questions for me, John, with Vancouver, who's it going to be up front? Is Brian White going to be back? We've heard that, he's been pounding the training room. He's been doing whatever he can in the fitness room to get himself sorted. Tristan Blackman, that's been an issue. Center back now, they're depleted. Jesper Sorensen's side. But what Jesper Sorensen has continued to do, despite guys being away on international duty, despite guys being injured, Pedro Vite, they sold down to Mexico, down to Liga MX, they still get results. And that's the first loss that they've had under Thomas Muller. So I just think it all went FC Dallas's way. And to your point, I think Vancouver now have that extra bit of bit between their teeth, the chip on the shoulder, right? We're going to show you don't come into our house. This place is going to be packed. We're going to turn you over. But on the other side, Eric Quill, what he's done since the midpoint of the season, since Lucho Acosta has gone out the door, who would have said that if you lose Lucho Acosta, you're actually going to get better? And what he's done, Eric Quill, he's brought the team together. And for me, I don't know about you, there's so many fascinating coaching stories across the league this year. Probably one of the best in terms of different styles, in terms of personalities. Eric Quill has his own unique style, and he went away from what he believed in how the team should play to what they are now, which is more direct, playing into Pedar Musa, and they're the better for it. Eric Quill put aside his ego and they're coming good. So they're riding a wave of team spirit right now. FC Dallas, similar to Pablo Mastroeni's side, house money. That's a tough opponent to go up against when you have that unity.
Ross Smith hanging out with us here on the morning show from the palatial studio, the palatial studio de Ross Smith. You mentioned Eric Quill and being confident enough in yourself, I guess, to go away from who you are as a coach and change your DNA, at least the team DNA, to get success. How often do we see that? I don't necessarily see someone stepping away from who they are and their absolute DNA and then saying, okay, I get it now. Let's do this, this, and this mid-season to come up with the results that you get.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm racking the brain just real quickly for managers in the past who have done it. Look at Wilfried Nancy. Everybody's saying with his injuries this year, he's got to change his style. Wilfried Nancy's not going to change his style, which has brought him so much success, and now it's got him to this stage really without a striker. Managers are steadfast in what they believe in. It got them to where they are. Other managers have been shown the door because they were too hard-headed about how they need to be. Laurent Courtois couldn't figure things out in Montreal and couldn't get the guys to buy into what he had to do. So to that with Eric Quill, what he's done and realized guys aren't buying in to what we're trying to do. Let's change it up. And I really like the line he said, I had to jump over the fence to their side. Not many managers want to do that. He did that, and I think got the respect from the players. There's a great story of him chugging an adult beverage after the game in Vancouver that he pulled out and he threw back and all the guys cheered. I asked him when I chatted to him yesterday, is there another one in the pocket of your hoodie that you're going to have? And he said, I'm not one for champagne unless you lift the trophy, but there'll be something else. I'm all about celebrating. So he's won the guys over, and he won the guys over when he desperately needed to, because they still had time to change their season, and he did.
I'm wondering if he's got a Muskoka or a Molson tucked away someplace.
I wanted to ask him that, John. I came off chatting with him, and I thought, why didn't I ask him one of those? I love that you know.
Oh, well, full disclosure, I worked for a handful of years at The Score when they did TV news, and so I was their U.S. correspondent. Whenever anything happened, it was me and Caroline Frolic and Martine Geyer and Greg Sansoni and Tim and Sid and Adnan Verk and Cabby. We were all in the same place working.
Oh my God, with Cabby! I've always wanted to meet Cabby. I'm Canadian. Yeah. I'm from Toronto.
Yeah. The home of the Guelph Storm, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh. John, amazing. I mean, amazing that, and whenever, like, Jake Zivin is one of my closest buddies, and whenever, and Nat Borchers worked with them, whenever those guys reference a Guelph, I just love how it just rolls off their tongue.
Dude,
so that means a lot.
I mean, I admit it, I'm like a hockey guy and a soccer guy. So you could bury me in the East Coast League, and I would be watching, something there with the Atlanta Glads and, something like, the Alaska Steelheads with Scotty Gomez, and I'd be a happy dude. Give me an obscure game. Look, where is it? Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so that's my hockey night. Where is it? I think it's up in the upper corner out of the frame. Out here on this rack, I have an Oshawa Generals hat that I picked up when all of the furor about John Tavares being an underage player draftee was going on. So I'm like, I've got to go see this. I went to Oshawa to go see him as an Oshawa general.
Oh my gosh.
And I've got the lid. I think, like I said, I think it's out of the corner. So no, you get into talk about the Quebec Major Junior, you get into OHL talk, and we're talking London Knights and Guelph Storm. Dude, I'm there. That's
oh my goodness.
That's an easy thing for me. Now that we've completely derailed the show on a Friday, what a shock. Is Jesper Sorensen your vote for Coach of the Year? And if not, who is it?
It was close. It was almost a flip of the coin. Bradley Carnell.
Okay.
And I've had the argument with others, with Jesper Sorensen, Mikey Varas having to build from scratch. Mm-hmm. I actually think I shouldn't say it because I've never been a manager, so I don't know what's more difficult, but also going into a club where the prior manager was so revered and loved, like Jim Curtin, to have to win the guys over and change what they've been doing, a diamond for however many years, and and go into your own philosophy and get guys to buy in, where a club has had so much success on the prior manager. Everything Bradley Carnell has done, and given the backstory of St. Louis, he was shown the door, and then has come back into Philadelphia, has had to pick his ego up off the floor. I think Bradley there's so many managers though. I mean, we could talk about BJ Callahan as well, being in there, winning US Open Cup. But Jesper Sorensen wasn't far behind my pick for Bradley Carnell.
Okay, like I said, I just wanted to check because you could go a bunch of different directions with it, and I didn't know where your sail was when it came to Lake Ontario, and when you had the boat in the water. A couple of other things, and then we'll let you go because I know you're a very, very busy man.
That's great.
The Miami series with Messi and friends and Nashville. And it could be something where literally, if this goes for 3, you could be seeing the same guys for 4 straight matches. It's a 4-game series with the Nashville Sounds and the Indianapolis. It's just like, it's crazy that it worked out that way. But I think that if anybody can pick the lock on Messi and friends, it's going to be somebody like a BJ Callahan staring at that back line going, yeah, I can run at that. I'm good to go.
Yeah, BJ Callahan's, I live in Nashville, and so I'm able to get down and watch training. He's been very inviting for me to go down and see what he does and how he builds. And to your point, if there's going to be a team, it's them. And the fact that now Miami have turned them over a couple of times, they're carrying that. And I listened to Eddie Tegseth on his press conference yesterday. And for me, if it went outside of goal scores and assists when you're talking about most valuable player, but I'd be going for the Norwegian. They call him the Norwegian nuisance, and for good reason. He John reminds me of Diego Chara when Chara first came into Chara for 15 years, but Tegseth, he's nasty. He's nasty, nips at your ankles. And the fact that Messi scored his first goal in the last game and he went beyond Tegseth, that won't sit well with the Norwegian. Anyways, they've got the way that BJ Callahan builds from the back, but is getting the most out of the front as well. Sam Surge, 24 goals. Hani Mukhtar, 16 goals. These guys want to attack this. Everybody wants a shot at Miami. Nashville have it. And I think what we're seeing with these potentially 3-game series, Nashville haven't played them, turns into 4, like you said. You're seeing what a manager's made of, because now it's a quick turnaround, and tactically they can dive a little deeper now, and they need to dive deeper because it's not as though they're just seeing the team and they won't see him again for another 3-4 months, and things can change. They're having to turn things around quickly, adjust quickly, and I think you're going to really see the brilliance of BJ Callahan over these next 2-3 games.
All right, last question for you, and it's the hometown question here. Since we're based in Atlanta, I have to ask your thoughts about the dismissal of Ronnie Dyla and the future when it comes to Atlanta United. It's going to be a busy offseason on a bunch of different fronts, on the field and off. You have player decisions to make. It's going to be, basically make sure that your seatbelt is fastened and that your tray tables are in the full upright and locked positions down here.
Yeah. I mean, John, I'd be so interested with you. I mean, I could talk about anything and it'd be really interested to hear what you have to say with it. But certainly with Atlanta, obviously I'm a bit arm's length at it all. But, from the times I've covered Atlanta, there's obviously been a divide between, is the talent real that has come in, and is the coach getting the most out of them? And so was it the right recruitment, or is it the coach? And the Garth Lagerwey, the Chris Henderson, they've won out right now. They believe that what they've brought in should be performing better. The one thing, the conversation with Ronnie Dyla that we always had, it came back to character, and it sounded like something was rotten in the club. We didn't know if it was one particular player, if it was a group of players. You can start to have a guess based on what players they were starting to, or had left the club, they were trying to force out. But I would say Rob Valentino, what he got out of the guys as an interim manager was a lot more than what we saw from MLS Cup winning Ronnie Dyla. So something was up, something had to change, and Ronnie Dyla was the fall guy.
All right. Hit the promo for me. You and Tony are very, very busy, sir. What are you doing for folks that haven't been listening to the first 20 minutes of the segment?
What am I doing?
This weekend with you. What are you calling, sir?
Oh, sorry. I mean, I was about to fill you in on my entire
What are you
day. I'm jumping on an Air Canada flight heading to the Great White North, Vancouver, to call Game 1 of Vancouver versus FC Dallas. A quick turnaround rematch of a team, the Texas team that took Vancouver down, which not many teams have
Then
done.
you're going to go to Zeller's and get some Aero bars and make sure that you bring them home, right?
I love that you know all this, John. This is amazing. Yes.
I mean, look,
That's exactly what I'm
I
doing.
spent my time on King Street, brother, in downtown Toronto. I know that going to Gretzky's, it's entirely too much to pay for steak. And look, give me the 7-Eleven, and the Mountain Dew that they have in Canada is a little more high-powered than what we get here in the States. I know.
John, I got to ask you this. I mean, what I'm doing tonight, I'm watching the Blue Jays. I'm getting my girls wearing Blue Jays gear. I'm going to crack open a Labatt's Blue. That is fascinating for me. Just anyways, 32 years later, like the kid in me is coming out.
One of the loudest environments I've ever been witness to, whether it's Joe Carter, whether it's Joey Bats and his home run against Texas. When Sky Dome, it's good. Look, since Rogers ain't paying me, I ain't saying it. It's Sky Dome, always will be. Sky Dome is electric when you get into those environments, and I love that environment up there. I know that you're going up against the Doyers, and as an Angels fan, I'm hoping that the rest of the entire civilized United States is rooting for Toronto going up against the Doyers. That's all I'm saying.
I love it. I got to get you some Blue Jay swag to put in that beautiful studio of yours.
That would be epic, and I will trade you SDH swag for Blue Jay or Guelph Storm swag or whatever you want to get your hands on. Some Dagenham and Redbridge, maybe something like that.
You're amazing.
As always, my friend, you know where the garage door opener is and the keys are under the mat. You know you can crash at any time, my friend. Good to see you.
John, great to see you. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for putting up with me, my technical difficulties at the start.
I have them too. It's all good. Go be safe flight and say hi to Tony. We'll catch up with you.